for geography this week, we have Western European countries. And I'm going to give my students a blank black line map, and just like I did last week, and they're going to color their countries like I have. And so after we go through and we name them and color them, we're going to sing the countries to the tune of London Bridge. Ireland, England, France and Spain, Portugal, round again. Ireland, England, France and Spain, Portugal. And I'm going to give them some type of little figurine. I don't have 10 of these that I can pass out to my class, but I have lots of other little finger puppets and things. So we're going to move them around while we sing it again. Ireland, England, France and Spain, Portugal, round again. And so we'll go through that a couple of times, and then I'm going to ask them some questions related to the geography that they had last week. So I'll ask them if they can tell me which one touches the North Sea. So our North Sea is here, so we'll see if they can remember North Sea, North Sea, North Sea, below the giant key. And so if they're like, well, it's this one, and then I'll say, oh, can you name it? Which one is that? And then I'll say, which two countries border the English Channel? So the English Channel comes through here, so they would say France and England. And I will ask them, which one is the smallest island we're learning about today? And that would be Ireland. And so they may not put it together that Ireland is an island because it's so close here. But so ask them which one's the smallest island, which one's the largest island, and just to kind of see if they can remember their geography from last week. Another challenge I may give to my students is I also need to point out that this is like zoomed in on this part of the world. And so we'll look at this, but then I'm going to remind them, like, this is just a really zoomed in part of the world. So when we look at our whole world map, where is this? Can you find them on our world map? And so I may give them a blank world map and see if they can locate these countries up here. For math this week, we have 5s and 6s. So for the 5s, it's just a chant. So I'm going to have my students pair up, and they're just going to clap with each other while we chant through them, like 5, 10, 15, 20. So they'll clap, and then when they touch hands, they'll say the number. And then for 6s, I kind of forgot I made this last year. So my kids have these like jumbo coloring sheets. So I just took one of the dinosaurs and colored it and glued it on this poster board. And then I took these little die cuts I found at Dollar Tree and wrote all of the numbers on it. So it's kind of a big poster. And I used it last year when I had the littles, and they just loved it. So last year, I think I had them act like dinosaurs. So we'd chant them, or we'd sing the song, and it was like the first time we'd act like pterodactyls, and then the next time we'd be T-Rex, and the next time we'd be Triceratops. So you could do that with it, or I had them, I had like a little dinosaur toy, and they got to take turns coming up and touching the chart with the dinosaur as we sang each of them. So I might do this and have them act out dinosaurs. I don't know. I don't think they're too old for that. But my other idea that I found was I wrote down all of the numbers on Post-it notes. And then what I can do is put them like along the wall. Like I could do like one down here, one up here, one down low, one way up high. And then they would take turns going down the line and just touching them and having to reach up real high and then go down low for the next one to go through all of the 6s. So I'm not sure which one I'm going to do yet. I might let them choose. Like I might just bring them both and then let them vote and see which one they want to do. Okay, for English we have pronoun order, and I'm going to use a song. It's the one that's like, pronoun order, everybody sing it now. So it's a fun song, and so we'll do some motions with it, and I'm really glad there's a song because I get tongue-tied trying to go through all of these. So we'll also talk about singular means one, plural means more than one. So when we say first person singular, point to ourself. Second person singular, 2 fingers for second person, point out like to you. And then third person singular, we're gonna go like this. We'll go like this. And we say just third person singular, but really it's like he, she, it. So then first person plural, use 2 hands, point to yourself. Second person plural, 2 fingers and 2 hands, point to you. And third person, 3, point, both hands point out like that. So that's the difference between singular with our 1 hand and plural with our 2 hands. And then I may say like, okay, try to sing it like a cowboy, try to sing it like a pirate. We might do that, but I don't know. It's kind of, we might just sing the song. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. If they've got it and they're kind of bored just singing through it over and over again, I may throw in some funny voices for them to do. They always love that. For Latin, we are starting a new set of tenses. So we got the imperfect tense. So I don't have it in front of me right now, but I'm printing out a picture of a bomb. And so they can remember that when a bomb goes off, everything is imperfect. And also our first one this week is bomb. And they all start with a B. So the bomb is gonna help us remember it's imperfect, everything's imperfect after a bomb, and that our first word is bomb. So I think this week I'm just gonna have them say it a few times and we'll like go through the song. And then next week I'm gonna bring in a parachute, like one of those big colorful parachutes. Actually, I have it right here. And they can all hold a side of it. And then I'll put a black balloon in the middle, but I'm not gonna blow the balloon up all the way. Like I'll let it be a little squishy so it's kind of heavy, and then they can try to keep it, move the parachute, but try to keep it on the inside while we play the song. But this week, I think we're just gonna go through it. Okay, for science this week, we have what are 3 types of consumers. So I have this graphic that I got from CC Connected, and what I'm gonna do is just tell them, a herbivore is a plant eater, carnivores are meat eaters, and omnivores eat everything. And then I'm gonna ask them, so I might have this, I'll probably have this covered up with Post-it notes or something, and I'll say, is a lamb or a sheep a carnivore, omnivore, or herbivore? And they all have to shout out what they think, and then I'll do a reveal to show them which one it is. And so they can kind of get an idea for classifying them into the right ones. And I also am going to sing it to, I like to eat, eat, eat. So we'll go through it with the song. We'll do that where they decide which ones are which. And then I also have motions. I don't know if I'm going to throw those in or not, but for herbivores, you could just have them like eating a carrot. Carnivores have them growl like a bear or a lion. And then for omnivores, just like we're going to eat everything. So I'll sing the song for you so you can have an idea of what I'm talking about, how it goes to that tune. So what are three types of consumers? 3 types of consumers are herbivores, carnivores, omnivores. Herbivores, carnivores, omnivores. Herbivores, boars, like to eat their veggies. Carnivores, boars, like to eat meat. Omnivores, boars, like to eat everything. These are three types of consumers. And even after you say like herbivores, boars, like to eat their veggies, they could all go and like after, like between that little break, they could do the like eat a carrot, or they could growl or do like this and when they're singing the song. So that's probably how I'll throw those motions in there, since they're so simple, and it'll give them something to do. So that's it for science. For history this week, we have the Crusades and Richard the Lionhearted. So I'm going to show you the motions that we'll do to this song, and then I will give you how I'm going to make connections with my students to kind of tell them what were the Crusades, who was Richard the Lionhearted, and like why is he called Richard the Lionhearted, and then why this matters to us today, because his rule and his kingdom and his brother who became king after him led to the Magna Carta, which affects even our government today. The Magna Carta. We'll do Richard, so we'll do an ASLR, the Lion-Hearted, son of Eleanor of Aquitaine, fought the Turks for Jerusalem during the time of the Crusades. Like we got our sword, we're swiping from 1095 to 1291. To talk about the Crusades, you can say they were a series of religious wars that took place between the Muslims and the Christians, and it wasn't one war, it was a series of wars. You know, we have crusades, it's plural, so you can bring in the English that when we talked about singular and plural, that there were multiple crusades, and Richard the Lionheart really was a part of the Third Crusade, and while he was very brave and he was known for his bravery and for being this great military leader, he was unsuccessful. He did not reclaim Jerusalem for the Christians, but he did reach a peace agreement with the Muslim leader Saladin. I hope I don't know to say Saladin or Saladin, but it ended with Richard they agreed for 5 years of peace. Also, I wanted to show you this in the Foundations Guide. I did not realize this until very recently, but you'll notice, like here next to history, there's a little gray triangle right there with a number in it, and that's the timeline card that correlates with the history sentence. So this is the timeline card on the Crusades. So I've read about this, read through this. I've read Story of the World, some other books, trying to get a good grasp on the Crusades and how I can tell it to my students in a really concise way, because there's so much you can say about it. And in my opinion, I think that the best little concise description is in Everything You Need to Know About World History on page 74. So on this page it has this little section on the Crusades, and then each of the Crusades, a little bit about each of them, and then down here is actually about Eleanor of Aquitaine and Richard the Lionheart. And then you'll see, like, the next page we talk about the Magna Carta, which is our sentence for week 4, and then the 100 Years' War, which is our sentence for week 5. So I love this book, and it gives just really a little, it's not super in-depth, but it's great for me, like, to read this little paragraph to my students, just to tell them about the Crusades. So that's my recommendation on that, and I'm going to show them this because it's just such a beautiful painting too of the Crusades. But yeah, so Richard the Lionheart, he was very brave. And another thing I want to talk to them about is like the story of Robin Hood. So most of them are probably really familiar with Robin Hood if they've watched the Disney movie or whatever. So that is not exactly accurate, but they'll know like, oh, Prince John was like Robin Hood's nemesis. Like that was his like enemy. And so there was always, during the time that Richard, he was off fighting in the Crusades, he wasn't actually in England very much. He was really off fighting a lot. And so according to this book, his mother, Eleanor of Aquitaine, she ruled while he was away at war. And so she was supposed to be a good ruler. She was, Richard was her favorite son, and so she was a good ruler. And her history is really cool too. But after Richard died, then the throne went to John, and went to Prince John. And so the depiction of him being like, oh, mommy, like a little sissy boy is, from what I read, it seems pretty accurate, that he was kind of known to be like the little brother, and so he was really trying to like assert his authority when he went into power. And because it was feudalism, when he was in control, he owned all the land. And so you can talk to them about feudalism and how like if you want to talk to them about Robin Hood. And so Prince John, when he became king, he really wore the people out, taking money from them, and even from the noblemen, he took money, and so people felt poor that really were not supposed to be poor in that society. So there were always the tales that people would tell of this mysterious Robin Hood who would steal from, after the king's men would come and they'd take money from people, he was going and stealing the money back and giving it back to the people. So that's like the legend of Robin Hood, and I haven't really found if it's that's true, but that happened after King Richard. Okay, so the movie makes it look like, you know, King Richard is the king and he's just off fighting and he left John in charge. Well, that isn't really what happened. In reality, when Richard was off fighting, his mother was in charge. And then after King Richard died, then John came into power. And that's when he started, you know, treating the people really badly. So badly that they eventually rebelled and there was about to be a civil war. And in order to avoid war, John agreed to sign the Magna Carta. So that's how that series of events sort of leads into the Magna Carta. So I just thought that was really cool. I didn't realize that until I was learning about it, and I just think it's so fascinating. I love history. But, you know, there's too much to go, like, to compare and contrast the movie of Robin Hood to reality. Like, I don't have all of that information, but it is, you could tell them about that, and for them to see, like, the way that the people dressed and the, you know, the culture that they sort of depict in the movie was accurate. After King Richard, the Lionheart, died and John came into power, then things were not so great for the people leading up to the Magna Carta. So that's all I have. I'm going to stop talking because I literally could talk about this forever. Just a side note, so what I'll do for my own children at home, because I don't think I'm going to have time during class, but you could do this in class if you don't want to do motions. If you're like, we have so many motions, I don't want to do them for history this week. So if you have the Story of the World Volume 2 activity book, so you can get it online, like it's just an electronic version where you can like print it out. So if you don't want to buy the whole book, you can buy the PDFs. Does that make sense? It is a lot cheaper. If I find a link, I'll put it in here. But this is a page out of that on the Crusades. So what I'll do, like for my own kids at home, and another option you can do in class would be just to let them color this while you play the song, and then you can read to them this little section out of Story of the World. Out of world history. Story of the World is great. It's more in depth, and I just think it might be too much to read during class. But like for my kids at home, I'm going to read to them the chapters on the Crusades, and there's like a little story about Robin Hood in there. So I'll read to them while they color. But if if you'd rather do something other than motions in class, that would be what I would do. All right, so for timeline this week, I'm going to do a little activity with bombs. So since I had the one picture that I printed for Latin of my bomb, I just shrunk them down in a Word document, and so I have like a bunch of little ones that I can print out. So I'm going to cut them out, and I'll tape 4. I'll do 4 of my timeline cards, and I'll tape a bomb on the front of it. So when it's time to do timeline, I'll have all my kids kind of in a semicircle, and I'll pass them out to them like this in order. And I'll say, do not turn your card over until I point to you and tell you to. And so when it's there, when I point to them, they're going to take their card and they'll flip it up like this. And if there's a bomb sticker on it, everybody's going to jump up and explode like a bomb. And then they'll sit back down, and I'll say, okay, so this card is whatever. And I'll show them the motion for it. And so I'll have it on 4 of them. And then we'll sing through the song a couple of times. So for our motions this week, let me make sure I am on the right week here. Okay, we start with Hinduism in India. So we're gonna we're not gonna do that first. So in Hinduism, they teach that Raman is the one great spirit. So we're gonna assign spirit. So you take like 2 fingers like this, and you just kind of like that, like a little ghostly spirit. So Hinduism in India. and then Phoenicians in the alphabet. So on the timeline card, there's a boat on the front of it. So we're going to assign boat. We're going to have a flat hand, and then we're going to take our other hand like this, like we're making the sails of a boat. So we're going to have Phoenicians, and then we're just going to assign A and B for the alphabet. So Phoenicians and the alphabet. And then Olmecs of Mesoamerica. Olmecs of Mesoamerica have this giant big like stone carved heads. So we're going to make O's, and we're just going to trace our face like the giant stone heads. For Israelite Exodus and desert wandering, we take two hands together, push them out front, and then have them open up like the Israelite Exodus, and then desert wandering. We have one finger like a person who's wandering around, and we're just going to have this like dazed look on our face. So Israelite Exodus and desert wandering. Israelite conquest and judges. So for conquest, we're showing the sign for like submission, that when someone conquers you, they're like putting you into submission. So you take your arm and you conquest, like we're putting them into submission. So Israelite conquest and judges. So you're going to take your pointer finger and your thumb together, and you're just going to do this like you're measuring the weights of truth. So there's a picture of like Lady Liberty where she's holding the scales and she's blindfolded, and that just shows. So we're going to go up and down like the scales of truth that Lady Liberty holds when she's blindfolded. Greek Dark Ages, just cover up your eyes. Greek Dark Ages. And Israel's United Kingdom, we're going to link our fingers together like this, showing that they're united. Okay, so I'll go through them all one more time. Hinduism in India, Phoenicians and the alphabet, Olmecs of Mesoamerica, Israelite Exodus and desert wandering, I can't say that right, Israelite conquest and judges, Greek Dark Ages, Israel's United Kingdom. And what I did last year with my little ones is I just dropped a lot of the motions because it was way too much for them. So like what I probably did was I just did Hinduism in India, and then I said Phoenicians in the alphabet, because it was just hard for them to even make their hands do different things. It required a lot of time and effort on their part. So I would take like one part of it and just have them do that, like Israelite Exodus and desert wandering, because they're gonna, whatever they can do, they're gonna add to it year after year. So that's my suggestion if you have little bitty ones. But that's what I'll use for my 7 and 8 year olds.
Hey, my name is